Welcome to another field trip edition of the Hortman Show. Boy, I'm liking these things. We're getting out in the woods quite a bit, or getting outside. This show is going to be a little bit different. We tend to focus on the particular insects or diseases or weeds, but today we're here actually outside of Westminster at Chuck Lewis's tree farm, and we're going to be talking about a harvest, not kind of the harvest that you think of that happens in the fall on the farm, but a different type of harvest. We also have Donna Davis with Maryland Forestry in Carroll County. She's our county forester. And we also have Tom Robertson, the consulting forester. And we're going to talk a little bit about a timber harvest, what it's all about and the significance of it. Chuck is not only the owner of this harvest area, but he also is on the tree farm committee. And Chuck, why don't you tell us a little bit about tree farming?
Thanks, Steve. Yeah, this farm is part of the Certified Tree Farm program. It's a national program supporting sustainable forestry, covers areas of wood product harvest, water quality, recreation, and it's sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay. When you get, I mean, obviously there'll be people that are interested in tree farming and they think, gosh, what do I have to do for a tree farm? And they're going to probably approach somebody like Donna and say, hey, Donna, I'm interested in taking care of my woods. How do you approach people like that? What do you tell them? Do you say, go ahead, just cut anything and everything, or... Oh, let me get over there so we can hear you.
No, what we like to do is meet with the landowner and find out what they're interested in and what their objectives are. And then we usually recommend that as a baseline to get a forestry management plan. And here's an example of the ones that we write in Maryland. It's under the Forest Stewardship Program. It's the same type of plan that Mr. Lewis has. And this forestry management plan, it's going to give you a very detailed overview of what your forest is, what's in the forest, what types of trees are here, if they're healthy, and then it also will give you a detailed long-term plan for how to manage your forest. And what we do is we work with the landowners and we find out what their objectives are, and we prepare the forestry management plan to meet those objectives. Now, one of the things that we always write into the plan is sustainable forestry management. So your long-term objective is to keep your forest healthy, is to make sure that you have regeneration, so you have forests for the future, to protect wildlife habitat, protect water quality. You may have other objectives like recreational opportunities, wildflowers.
Plus, I mean, forests can be a long-term investment too. I mean, that's if you keep and protect and sustain it, then you have this long-term investment rather than...
Definitely. Yeah. It's a harvest, but your harvest may not be every year, like you said, like with corn. It may be every 60 years, and it is a long-term investment. And the key is not to cash in your investment prematurely. And when you use the services, when you have your long-term management plan and then use the services of a consulting forester who's working for you, they can help you determine what you need to do, when it's time to do a harvest, and how to meet all your management objectives.
Good, good. Okay, well, we have our consulting forester here. Tom, come on over. Tom, you came in, obviously, Donna, you wrote the plan, but Tom's coming in as consulting forester. When you come into woods like this, what do you do first?
Well, you look at what you have as your inventory. You see your species, you see their health, their size, and you talk to the landowner about what their goals are, and you bring to him a list of potential objectives that you can reach from your harvest. And from that, you determine whether or not how much you want to cut, when you want to cut it, how payments are made. Various things like that, and you proceed from there.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, when somebody comes in, say you give this plan to Chuck and say, hey, here's some options, what kind of time frame should people expect, or what should they look at for that period of harvest? How long does that typically take?
Well, if you mark it all depends on your different counties. They have different time lengths to get their permits through. Buffers are involved with streams, then you have a longer period of time. Stream crossings also increase your your period of time to get your permit. Then you want to allow for a couple months worth of time for the actual bid to go out to the different loggers so they can have a chance to peruse the site and cruise through it and see what they have, put in a bid. And then most of them that are really good, they're going to have a lag time. They're not ready, they're not waiting out there to come in the next day and log. They may be another month or two out.
Yeah, and
So
especially after winter like this winter where you had
Precisely.
to compete with a lot of weather, I'm quite sure those loggers were put back in,
And
in time.
this summer with all the moisture, we've
Yeah,
also
with
been
all the
slower.
rain.
Yep. So really, by the time you start it, it's generally 10 months before you get to it,
Gotcha.
something like that.
Okay.
Mhm.
It's a wonderful partnership between landowners, the DNR Forest Service, and the consulting forester. I mean, together we plan it and understand what the objectives are, and then execute the plan. And I'm very pleased with the way it's been going.
Yeah.
This property is about 40 acres, 32 in hardwood timbers like this, and then a 8-acre hayfield. And actually, it was my wife's family's farm, and we have records going back to 1950 where my
Right,
father-in-law
I wish my wife had a family farm like this. This is beautiful.
where my father-in-law worked with a DNR forester. So this has been in some stages of professional management by a forester since about 1950.
How long ago, or do you know when the last harvest was here?
Yeah, 1998.
Okay, so it isn't like every year there's somebody in the woods with a chainsaw.
No.
Now, are you doing this in conjunction with any other landowners that are adjacent to your property?
Yes, I am. The adjacent farm, which is on the same stream line,
Is this
tributary of Meadow Branch, we coordinated the sale together, and that gives us both more availability for access to the property, and also allows a greater price for the
harvested
Yeah.
lumber?
Precisely. Yeah, you have less move-in costs.
Gotcha. And when you looked at what Tom had proposed in regards to the plan, what were there things that you said, hey, I don't want to do that, or what did you see in the plan that you really liked?
Yeah, we were in agreement. Donna had written a long-term management plan which called for a harvest to occur about this time, and had made some recommendations on an approach to do some select cutting and select group cuttings. So we're opening up areas of the woods to get new regeneration. And Tom and I were in agreement to proceed in that way, and it's going well.
Good, okay. Okay, so Tom, when you came in, you looked at the woods. What were your priorities when you looked at these woods around us? I still see a lot of trees. What are the things that you look for when you do a harvest?
Well, mainly it's your health of your trees. You look at what's going to be here, your next rotation, like Chuck is 17 years since we've had his last harvest, and the time between harvests is called a rotation. What you look at mainly is what's going to be here for the next rotation. If that's not going to be here, then you want to be sure that you're marking that to take that out. What you're trying to do is to be efficient and not let a lot of your trees die and decay, but to harvest them, get some product from them, and allow them still have life left in the stump to then again re-sprout for another crop. You look through your woods and you see double and triple sprouts, and they're almost always stump sprouts from old harvests.
Old harvest, yeah.
And you want to try to incorporate your stump sprouts into your harvest because that's a major source of reforestation.
Got it. What are going to be the biggest challenges post-harvest to these woods? What are some of the things that you recommend Chuck should do and I guess as a tree farmer, you probably already know this, but what are some of the challenges in our day and age especially that you have to look for in kind of managing the woods post-harvest?
Well, nowadays we have a lot of invasives. We have Japanese stiltgrass, that is a problem, garlic mustard, all types of other foreign weeds coming in.
Yeah, and all these invasives compete for space.
Oh, they do. Well, and not only that, they suppress our regeneration. They cover the seeds. They don't get enough sun. They may not sprout. They're eaten by squirrels, mice, all that. So you don't get the regeneration back that you used to. Then you also have the deer, large populations of them throughout, and we also have high populations of squirrels because they're also another predator of the nuts.
Yeah,
they take a lot of seed away, and they're there all year long. So you have from the old textbook forestry that my silvicultural books were written back in the 50s. We have a lot more problems we had then. That
You're dating yourself,
we have to yes, we have to really adjust to the changing times.
Yeah.
But the invasive weeds and the animal grazing,
on,
predation onto the seed and to the sprouts. Once the sprouts get up, they're still being browsed by the deer. And in the wintertime, is my understanding that when the does are pregnant with fawn, they can eat up to 2.5 pounds of browse per day per deer. So that's a lot of, well, it's not just the acorns, that's all your little
foliage and branch ends.
Branches, yes. So,
Yeah, before we got in the woods today, one of the things that I noticed walking in that I find unusual, a lot of woods I walk into, especially public properties, Carroll, Baltimore, Harford, is that the lack of understory. And what's kind of nice about this property is there are young seedlings over here, young hickory trees. This one's a good 12 foot, if not larger, and there's a chestnut oak further over. And you can look around and see there's still, the future is ready to come in, and that's a nice thing to see with something like that. And obviously when you make your recommendations, you try to manage to preserve those types of trees.
We're trying to preserve them, and also I do what's called a crop tree selection. I try to do is retain the trees that are of high quality, both health and value, because they're going to be making the next crop. And I try to do is take out what I consider be basically a weed tree. Even though it may not be, it's still a desirable species, but it may be taking up space that your good crop trees need to grow. So I try to do group selections. As you can see here, here's an area that's not been hardly disturbed. Here you can see a very open area. Down here, exactly. Now through here, you're also going to see other ones. I do not do a diameter cut. I can leave trees up to 3 feet, 4 feet across, doesn't matter. If they're there and they're healthy and vigorous, we let them go. They're good seed sources. And same thing, it's just like a farmer culling his herd. You keep the quality and you try to always increase, so the next generation is going to be a little bit better than this generation.
Yeah.
you know, this is an important aspect of good forest health management, is to have a harvest, you know, but it may only happen once or twice in the lifetime of a landowner.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a pretty important step for us. But the other elements of what we love about the woods are the recreational aspects of it, whether that's deer hunting or just come out and walking and enjoying.
Yeah, and enjoying the aesthetics.
Wildlife management. We've got a stream, as I said, down below, and so it's important that we maintain a sustainable forest here to protect the water quality.
Yeah, so often people forget what woodlands contribute to stream quality. A lot of people look at it as a pollutant, but no, they're actually helping to maintain the soil and keep it out of the water and cool the streams and all that other good stuff.
So by having a defined management plan, the assistance of a professional like Tom, and then managing the property to the tree farm standards, international standards for sustainability, you provide for the long-term health of the woods.
Good, good. And Donna needed to ask you a question also. I mean, if people are interested in getting a stewardship plan, what are kind of the minimal requirements? Can somebody with an acre get one, and are there costs for them, and how do you answer those questions?
Well, there's various answers. We, the Maryland DNR Forest Service, and there's a forestry DNR Forest Service office servicing every county in the state. We write management plans for people who have properties at 10 acres and greater. Consultant foresters will write management plans for people who have properties that are 5 acres and greater. And
Somebody like Tom.
Somebody like Tom, yes, who can write you a forestry management plan also. There's cost sharing available. If you use a private consulting forester, you can get cost sharing through some government programs to assist in paying for the cost of having a private consultant prepare the plan. DNR Forest Service charges a small fee too. It starts at $200 for our plan preparation. You can't use cost sharing for it. But
how
if
long
you,
are these plans good for?
We usually write them, normally you write them for a 15-year cycle. That's the normal thing. Sometimes there might be a reason why a forester wants to write the plan on a shorter cycle, a 10-year cycle, depending on what the conditions are in the forest.
Yeah, or how things have changed.
Yeah, but normally it's a 15-year cycle, and then you come out and you reassess the woodland again, take more statistical data, see where we're going and what needs to be done for the next 15 years.
Good.
But if anybody needs any type of information or wants to get connected either with us or with a consultant forester, they can either get on the DNR website, which is www.dnr.maryland.gov. And when you get on the website, click on trees, And on that website, you can find the telephone number and the address of all your county foresters. My office number is 410-848-9290. And then from there, based on your needs, your local forester can direct you to where you need to go. We can get you a consultant foresters list. You can pull up a consultant list on the DNR website. Or if you need other assistance with land management, we can direct you in the right place, to the right place.
Cool, thank you. And how about if somebody's interested in becoming a tree farmer, and how do they do that?
Well, they can, through their county forester, their DNR forester is a good place to start, or their consultant forester. But you start with the management plan, and then it's generally a minimum 10-acre size property. And there is a website connection through the DNR Forest Service to tree farming.
Yeah, and Tree Farm does typically a tour a couple times, at least once a year.
Yeah,
and
tree farm usually annually does field visits to different tree farm locations across the state. We're also now conducting informational meetings because the national standards that tree farm follows have recently changed. So there's informational meetings to get that word out to the tree farmers and what the standards look like.
Good.
And I hope that in my lifetime we'll see that the value in a certified tree farm, certified wood, will actually pay a premium at harvest time. We're not there yet, but I think the world is going in that direction, and that's the hope.
Yeah, well, I know for myself, well-managed woodlands are obvious, and you can tell when people have followed some sort of plan. You can see the difference rather than the laissez-faire method where you just let things grow. And a lot of people think, and I can understand why, that trees just grow, and yeah, they do, but with, as we've talked about, the pressures of invasive species and environmental pressures, some of the times it's best to step in and actually do some management. Any other things you'd like to
that
include,
was
Tom?
one thing that was a driving factor in this harvest. Chuck had hypoxylon coming into the red oak. Factor of
hypoxylon canker, yeah.
Yes, hypoxylon was very prevalent through here, and it used to be called oak blight, oak decline, but now we call it hypoxylon. I understand they're contemplating changing the term again, but
Darn,
it's still,
hate
yes,
that.
but still it's the same disease, and once it gets in the red oaks, it's terminal. So the red oak factor here had it quite badly as a result from these previous drought years we've had over the last 10 years.
Well, it's
And
nice it has a pretty healthy population of white oak.
right, we left the white oaks, the chestnut oaks,
Yeah.
and hickories. I tried to retain whatever we could here,
Yeah.
and but just worked on those red oaks that were showing signs of decline, and but that was a very driving factor in Chuck's decision, because if we'd have gone another 3 or 4 years, the value that he'd have gotten would have been so much less. Furthermore, the trees would have died, and there would be no stump sprouts whatsoever.
Yeah, dead trees.
Yes.
Exactly. Great. Well, I think that does it for today for the Hortman Show. Please follow us on Facebook or on YouTube, and follow us on social media. I'll get that right one of these days.
You're somewhere. You're somewhere.